Mon cher, je pense que je t'aime avec tout mon cœur. Quand tu danses avec moi. Mon cher, je pense que je t'aime avec tout mon cœur. Quand tu danses avec moi.
Monsieur, je veux t'embrasser maintenant quand tu danses avec moi. Monsieur, je veux t'embrasser maintenant quand tu danses avec moi.
Dance with me, my Valentine, to the beastly beast. It's a love divine. Dance with me, my Valentine, to the beastly beast. It's a love divine.
Oh, take my hand, hold me close, my Valentine. Keep me in your pocket, you're my mysterious man. Take my hand, nurture this infinity. Keep me in your pocket, take me to infinity.
Mon ami, prends-moi pas la main, ralentis, regardez-moi. Quand tu danses avec moi. Mon ami, prends-moi pas la main, ralentis, regardez-moi. Quand tu danses avec moi. Dance with me, my Valentine, to the beastly beast. It's a love divine. Dance with me, my Valentine, to the beastly beast. It's a love divine.
Oh, take my hand, hold me close, my Valentine. Keep me in your pocket, you're my mysterious man. Take my hand, nurture this infinity. Keep me in your pocket, take me to infinity. Hold me close, my Valentine. Keep me in your pocket, you're my mysterious man. Take my hand, nurture this infinity. Keep me in your pocket, take me to infinity. Hold me close, my Valentine. Keep me in your pocket, you're my mysterious man. Take my hand, nurture this infinity. Keep me in your pocket, take me to infinity.
How to do it, you get what to do without you. What to think I do to me if I don't sleep with you. What to do it, you get how to do without you. You're my false star. How to do it, you get what to do without you. What to think I do to me if I don't sleep with you. What to do it, you get how to do without you. You're my false star.
All right, let's do this at a time that is horrendously inconvenient for everybody, which was originally my point of doing these late night streams, because I didn't think anybody would show up, and I am mistaken because Jerry Legend is here. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Oh, welcome to Art Has Peaked. Art Has Peaked, the show where we talk about art and things and stuff. Oh, hi indeed. Oh, hi indeed. We're doing this at a horrendously late time, which was the whole point in the first place. The whole point was to pick a time that is not. Harry Poo's here too. Hi, Harry Poo. Good evening indeed. The point is to pick a time that is horrendously inconvenient for absolutely everyone. I think a lot of streamers tend to pick a time where they try and like get that late afternoon after work crowd, or maybe they're getting the commute crowd or the morning crowd or whatever. And I'm just like, no, let's just make this horribly inconvenient for absolutely everyone in the world as much as we can. The worst time that I could possibly pick. That's when we're gonna do this. So let's see how this works out. How's everybody doing? How are things? How's stuff? We are doing an interview tonight. We are airing an interview that I've been holding on to for the last couple of weeks. 3 weeks. Like 3 weeks. I interviewed Ragged World back in January. Ragged World, who hasn't streamed on Twitch in a bit because he's taking a bit of a hiatus, but is coming back with a vengeance with some new projects in the works. And tomorrow morning at 10 in the morning, and yeah, I don't know why I'm up at this hour. Let's see, it's 10 o'clock for me. In 12 hours, I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna get on a call with Ragged World because I'm gonna be on his new podcast. Because now he's announcing that there's gonna be a new podcast at hopefully the end of February. So here I am airing Ragged's interview. 12 hours later, I'm going to be doing a call with Ragged. And Ragged is asleep right now. Ragged is asleep and will not be here. And that's totally fine. That is totally fine. Because I never expect people to be in the chat to field questions from people if they are not able to. I was gonna go somewhere with this. There's some housekeeping things and things. I'll be streaming Saturday. Saturday is a gaming stream, I think. It's a Fallout stream, a Fallout New Vegas stream. Yeah, that seems right. Fallout New Vegas. Oh my god, yes. So, I also need to talk about LLS. As you can see here down in the chat bar, we have raised some money for charity. Quinn just did their big stream today in honor of their brother on their brother's birthday. And I am so upset because I was not able to make it today. But there's a VOD available, and apparently Jerry Legend was there showing puppies on stream. So, like, go check out Quinn's channel. I haven't said this enough, but I will say this again. Go check out Quinn's channel because Quinn apparently had puppies on their stream today. Courtesy of Jerry Legend, who has a bajillion puppies right now. So, let's see. Other things and stuff. Stuff and things. Tuesday is a Satan stream. Is the day before Valentine's Day. Satan may have something in the work for the Circle of Lust. Oh yeah, and then Monday I'm going to be I'm working on a secret project, and I was just about to spoil it, but I'm not going to spoil it. It's going to be really good, though. Anyway, things and stuff and stuff and things and things and stuff and stuff and things. We're going to interview Ragged World right now. Let's go! Okay, this is the part where I fumble around with my keyboard and try and figure out how to adjust things, how to set things. Let's go! Oh, I should turn down the music too. Let's turn this off. I don't think anybody could hear it anyway. And let's see here. I have to operate this thing. Oh, here's the thing I need to do. And are y'all ready? Are y'all ready for the interview? Are y'all ready? Because I need to mute my mic. Let's go! Ragged!
I should have known that was gonna happen.
You should
Mother of
have.
Carve.
Did you expect any
Mother
less?
of Carve.
Yeah, give me some flails.
Screaming mother is very weird.
It's also very good to see you. Hi, how are you doing?
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. I feel fantastic. And as we may or may not have been talking about, this brand new.
I love
everything, everything in the back, brand new. I made it.
It's darker. It's the darker, more serious Ragged World.
It still captures the je ne sais quoi that you had before, but it's more refined. Wait. I have some questions first.
You do your thing.
Some
You do your
questions.
thing.
First of all, what is your name? What do you prefer that we call you? Pronouns, etc., etc.
Oh, got you. I always forget about all of that. I'm never sensitive to anybody's feelings.
That's
So,
why I got a list.
okay, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so I don't mind anything like ragged. Rick is a good first name for me. Let's put it that way. So you could say Rick, you could say ragged. I don't really care which. So feel free there. I'm a he. I'm not worried about it though. You could call me
Yeah.
any pronouns you would like. If you feel like saying she or you feel like saying they or whatever makes sense to you, go for it because it doesn't really hurt my feelings. So feel
Good
free.
to know. All
Yeah.
right, Ragged, tell me about your art. Tell me about your art, Ragged.
Oh, tell you about my art.
Yes.
Well, I guess I dabble in a few different things, but the thing that I've created the most is probably writing.
Oh.
So I've written a few novels, and also I've written some comic books, and I went out of the way to, for those comic books, I went out of the way to produce like one fully. So like I got the artists and everything like that, and directed all the shots and everything, and took that comic book and turned it into motion comic books so that you could see, I had trailers and stuff so you could see them sort of a version of what I see in my mind is happening in the comics. So comic books, writing, and from time to time, as like a real rank amateur, I'll throw together a beat or some music or something like that.
Oh, awesome. You're a polymath.
I don't know about that. I think I'm a dilettante in a few things. I think a good way to put it.
I like that. So do you use the same, what is your pen name? What do you go by, or if you're willing to share that?
Oh well, I'm usually Rick Rags, so you might see it there. But I didn't publish most of my stuff. I published only one book because I was like, I gotta publish a book. I can't just finish them and not publish them. So I put out only one.
That's awesome. So going through the list of the things that you've done, let's start with writing. What first got you interested in writing?
What got me interested in writing? I'm gonna say music got me interested in writing because the first things that I wrote were songs.
Uh-huh.
When I was like 13, 14, feeling real angsty, feeling real like listening to Nirvana, listening to Pearl Jam, listening to all the Seattle bands, basically Soundgarden, because I'm kind of old, right? So everything that's somewhat popular now is because it's come back from a zillion years ago. So yeah, I was listening to these bands. Soundgarden was like my favorite band, so I'm sad about Chris Cornell not being here anymore. So I never got to see him live, but that's another story. I wrote, just started writing songs. I don't know. I just had these words in my mind. I guess it's putting them out was that. Then from there, it moved into, I just felt like I had story premises, and that was a little ways later, like in my 20s. I started to go, well, I want to tell these story ideas. I need to make them into something. I would love it if they were films or movies or something like that, but I didn't have those abilities. So I thought, well, if I just write a novel, then I guess that's the first step. So does that I think I shortened 15 years into that paragraph, but that's where we were.
Great condensing. Good editing on your behalf. What are some of your inspirations and your influences when you decided to write?
Ooh, okay. A lot of my inspirations were definitely both comic books and films, but for writing in novels, I actually read. I don't know if you know this. It's an old anime series that they made a book form of. I'd never read the manga and I've never saw the anime, but I had the novel versions. There were 12 of them. It was called Robotech.
Oh
Or
yeah, Robotech.
the Macross Saga would be another, or Macross Saga is another way that they put it. Yeah. So I read 12 Robotech small novels, and I think that was the first. I think I was maybe 10 years old or something at the time, and so that would have been the first influence in terms of like novel writing. Right, I got into it. I wanted to read it. I was interested in the characters. And there was so much about it that I like this whole idea that, an alien craft has crashed into the planet. They don't know what it is. Nobody knows how the technology works. I know this is not a new idea necessarily, but for me at the time, totally new.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I was like, oh yeah, this is crazy. What is this thing? So, and then them accidentally, this is what, well, this is the, spoiler alert, this is the premise. They accidentally get like folded through space-time billions and billions of light years away from Earth. So, you know, if you've got yourself a kind of a, I don't know, Star Trek Voyager / you know, situation going on, if anybody knows that show. And so, yeah, all these interesting people and how they dealt with things, but also they're consistently in a war. So it's kind of like a Battlestar Galactica at the same time. So, yeah, I think, and just the characters. There was a character called Rick, I think, actually, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, that made sense. And he was like lightning incarnate is the way that they described him, and I just understood he's a fighter jet pilot, and he's like undefeatable in terms of how fast he is, and I always love those kind of characters. So.
Of fucking course, you're a fan of Rick.
Yeah, and he was like a dick or whatever, but I thought it was awesome.
Rick the Dick.
Man.
But Robotech and like that was a really, really popular genre of anime at the time. Like mech anime and sci-fi anime. There was like a whole revolutionary wave of anime that was just mech for a while. So
Oh yeah,
did
with
that?
Gundam and all that.
Oh yeah, Gundam and like even later, even some later animes. And gosh, they're still making new Gundams. They're still making new Gundams.
Even Samurai Pizza Cats
Yeah.
was mechs, and was it, Power Rangers was mechs, and like everything around that time, I think was like, if there's not a mech, then there's nothing. They had, oh my goodness, like where I'm at, a lot of people speak French, and so there was an anime called Grendizer, which I had not seen.
Wait, how does it? Do you know how it's spelled? Because that sounds a little
it's either
familiar.
Grendizer or Grandizer. I'm not sure which.
Grandizer.
Might have been Grandizer, but it's Goldorak in like the French version. They called it Goldorak. I don't know why, but maybe it was easier in French to call it Goldorak. But that's a full mech thing. Then I guess there was Voltron. Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a
Voltron was
thing?
big here.
There you go. So I never really knew. That was before I knew what anime was. I think I was reading these books. So yeah, but yeah, you were saying Gundam is big. I remember being in Japan and seeing like the life-size Gundam wings that were there, so it's pretty cool.
I'm so envious that you've been to Japan, and I know we've talked about this before, forever ago,
Let's
but
talk
I
about it
want
again.
to know about all of your adventures in Japan.
Okay.
Yes, like what were
But
you there
I don't
for?
want to derail you either. Are we like?
It's okay.
Are we
You know what?
Okay.
We will get to the artsy questions later, but
Okay.
right now I want to know about Japan. Tell me about Japan.
Oh my goodness, what is there to say? Okay. I've been to Japan 7 times.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, and a couple of those times were only like a week or two, but a few of those times were a month or 2 or 3 months. So I had a really, really nice experience with those ones because you need time. That's the first thing. Going to Japan, my tips: you need time. Try to just like, I don't know, quit your job and go there and be there for a long time. Is that good advice to tell people?
Yes. Yes.
Stop working. Go to Japan. Be a bum in the street.
Quit your job. Go to Japan.
So, yeah, it was about a month, or 2 or 3, depending on which trip you're talking about. And I mostly spent the time in Tokyo. So I've been to some of the countryside stuff, but not that much. I've been to Mount Fuji as well, a couple times.
Whoa.
But my favorite experience, it depends on kind of person you are. I'm not going to give advice on it. I can just tell you from my perspective. If you like something Japanese, let's say, like I like martial arts. I'm not like a massive anime fan or anything. Like a lot of people love manga and anime.
Yeah.
My knowledge is limited there, but I like kenjutsu.
Yeah.
I like kendo. I think it sounds like you. I think you do kendo, right? Am I crazy?
I haven't gone back to the dojo in a while, but yeah, I've done kendo before. I did that for quite a while. And also, martial arts is an art, so we can talk about art and martial arts.
Oh my goodness. I should have talked about that too. That's true. That was one of the first things ever for me. The movies, martial arts movies, and then doing kung fu when I was like 9 or 10.
What style of kung fu did you do?
I don't know what the first one was because I was a kid. I'm in Canada and it said Kung Fu. So that was
Ah,
all I knew there. But what I did for a long time, I can tell you, when I was 17 years old, till about 22, I did. In an English way of saying it would be Hungar Kung Fu,
mm-hmm.
but it's Hunga. I think in if it was Cantonese, probably.
Uh-huh.
And that's it's or like Silum Hungar, Silum Hungar, which means like Shaolin style
Mm-hmm.
Hungar, which is all the animal styles. If you just to make it simple, you never like tiger style and
Manta
leopard style.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah. Well, there you go. See, that's like some northern Shaolin long fist there. But yeah, did that for a long time. So I did tiger, snake, crane, classic crane,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And they're the ones you might know their style best from Drunken Master.
Oh,
Jackie Chan's film,
yeah.
the Drunken Master, he kicks into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The teachers of that style were Wang Fei Hung and Wang Kei Ying. It's his father and him. The drunken one was Wang Fei Hung. And you'll see if you look, you're gonna see every single one of those styles plus the drunken style kind of thrown together
Mm-hmm.
because it's the style that character would have done. So it was really fun to do kung fu, then watch kung fu movies and be like, oh, it's in like every movie. So
That's so cool.
super fun. That was a good time.
So how long did you stick? I mean, if you're still doing martial arts, yes, but how long did you stick with kung fu?
About 5 years, because it was from about 17 to 22, I would say, around that.
That's a good long time to be committed to a single martial art.
I was crazy about it. I used to do when you start, it was like 3 days a week, but at some point, I got so close to. I should have stuck with it longer, to be honest with you, because I always do this. I get like close to whatever the advanced level, or like a black belt level, if you want to put it that way, and then I'm like, well, something happened and I'm moving or something stupid like this. So I've never got a black belt in something, and I'm kind of like, maybe I should, But I did it for 5 years. Let's put it that way. 4 or 5 years, 4.5, 5 years.
You're kind of like a bard of martial arts there. You're a jack of all of various styles, but you're not mastering them. Um,
Yeah.
so how many types of martial arts have you dabbled in, and how many have you gotten serious about?
Okay. The first one that I felt I was more serious about was Taekwondo when I
Oh.
was 12,
Mhm.
12 to 14,
Mhm.
maybe. It was only about 2 years, but from 12 to 14 feels like a long time,
Mhm.
if we want to put it that way, right? So I did Taekwondo and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I really, really had fun. So I stuck with that. And then I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Mhm.
And that's when Kung Fu started. For me, it took me a while to find something, but it's essentially that's it. I moved away. I used to move around a lot. So I would move away from the thing that I did and I had to kind of restart, which is difficult, but also a fun adventure, I think. So yeah, I started doing Taekwondo. Then I moved to the East Coast, started doing Kung Fu. I stuck with that for a really long time. Moved again because I was younger. I was starting to be an adult, starting to have jobs and stuff.
Mhm.
So I moved again and started doing. That's when I started doing Kenjutsu. I want to say 25. I was around 25 years old, and that I stuck with for about 7 years.
Woo.
I did it a few times a week for 7 years. And they also had some like kind of Aiki classes as well, where you're doing sort of Aikido and a little bit of groundwork as well. Didn't do that for that long, but it was a thing you could do there. So I would jump in from time to time and get thrown on the ground.
Nice.
But no, the sword training was a big change in my life. I think of my mindset and just to the way I looked at things. More so than a martial art where I thought like I could just physically, it was not as physical and more mental, even though it's fully physical, of course. But I thought that was the case with that. That was the one I felt the most serious about, even though in Kung Fu, I would say Kung Fu and Sword are the two that I did the most seriously. 5 years and 7 years is a long time. And I did them religiously. I never missed the classes if I could avoid it. And yeah, I felt like Sword though is Sword.
Yeah.
There's something about it, something about the like a Bushido style stuff that gets you. It just hooks you. Something about Japanese culture as well just hooks you. It's so much its own thing that it hooked me like crazy. And just this idea of being trying to find complete freedom within a framework, the framework of the sword, and then being like, how free can I be within this? Because it's at its heart, even though we don't do it this way anymore, you would know with kendo probably more so than me because I did kenjutsu. You have to be completely present in the moment because whatever's happening is happening at lightning speed, and you kind of just have to be ready to do what needs to be done right now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And somehow that the juxtaposition of that preparation that you do, the endless preparation that's going to, so you're doing repetition and preparation in order to be like kind of non-repetitive, if you want. Like I found that to be amazing. So
it's something that happens in kendo. Our sensei would tell us the idea of seeing the mountain and seeing the bigger picture, because you may be laser focused on 3 tactical points. And kendo is very big about like having 3 tactical points: your men, your kote, and your do. Your head, your wrists, and your sides. And people get laser
happy to
focused
hear
on
that.
trying to make those striking points and trying to protect your own striking points. But when you zoom out and you see everything else as a more holistic, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, but you see everything as a bigger picture. You see the mountain beyond the trees, and you have to keep that mindset while you're doing kendo. But it's really hard, like you said, when you have very strict rules and you're trying to find the freedom within those spaces. And there's also in Japanese culture, everything has a name. Every part of our shinai had a name. There's the himo, and then there's the suba, and like everything has a name, and you had to know all of it and how it all balances. It's crazy. And
trying to strike with a menuchi, and
yep.
so yeah, like every piece is a thing, everything is a thing, and then sorry I interrupted you though. You're making me excited. You're making me excited.
I'm also very excited because I don't get to talk about kendo very often with people.
So I didn't ask you about it though.
What?
Because when you started, why kendo? Because it's a bit of an investment in time, and it can be an investment in money as well, like getting the armor and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
The shinai. What got you going there? How did that start?
The interviewee turns into the interviewer, but I'm too excited to turn this around. But like, yeah, no, it was. I just always wanted to do it. I think that maybe you share the sentiment, and please tell me if you do. But did you ever want to be one of those cool badass kids that just like knew how to fight, knew how to superpower, and like you wanted to be Goku on the playground? I wanted to be Goku on the playground. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. 100%.
But then I got to be an adult, and I'm like, I have some adult money. I can take sword fighting classes. I've just always wanted to do this, so I just did. And you know what? It's really helped with my anxiety because I was an extremely anxious person, and then going into the dojo and learning how to sword fight, it eased my anxiety in ways that I never expected, and I cannot recommend that enough that people take some form of martial arts. But I don't know. What about you? It's like what has martial arts done for you?
Oof, what hasn't it done, right? I think it helps obviously with health and fitness. That's a thing. Always there. When I did kung fu, I did feel like what you talked about. I felt like a super person. It felt like if there was, because you stretch a lot, like a Shaolin style kung fu, you do all this stretching, you do all this strength stuff, you do all this conditioning, your legs are strong, your body can move in every direction. You're moving around like a snake, and now it's like a crane, and now it's like a tiger. Totally different kind of vibes. And that was a thing. But then also, more than anything else, again, I'll think it's the mental side of things, the way to think about things, the way to be able to react to situations, I think was really helpful. And then also to think past it, because most martial arts are generally connected to either Buddhism or Zen or something like that along the way. You'll get to fall into some of these categories, or just like Bushido, you know,
Yeah.
where you've got this code of conduct that the ancient samurai used to do. And you know, you find yourself reading. I've read all these books about this stuff, so it led me to all these different books. And in a sense, there's a connection there from Bushido with that, plus maybe Stoicism and in Greek and Roman times. They have a very similar vibe, and I felt martial arts allows you to connect the dots of many different aspects of life, if we want to put it that way. And then it does always, like you mentioned, like right now I do boxing. I go to a boxing gym and do boxing. And I did boxing in Japan, by the way. I signed up for boxing gym. So again, here's Rick's tips about Japan. Learn some sentences and learn some words in Japanese. Do that. We have apps, we have things, like do as much as you can. Learn as much of it as you can that's basic. Otherwise, you can't do stuff like this. It becomes hard. I go to a boxing gym and I'm like, I'm here for 3 months. I want to train here. Like, I have to be able to say this, right? And so I learned those things, and then I can show up and say, do it. Then you can throw punches. I also learned that martial arts connects people across all the cultures. Like, you can not know a language and still do a kendo class. You can still do. I did a kendo class there, and I did some sword kenjutsu training there, which is phenomenal. That if you like sword, go to Japan and just do a sword class if you can figure out one. Do kendo while you're there, and it's that vibe of like, I'm here doing this thing. I feel like I'm rambling like a fool a little bit,
No, that's okay.
but
Ramble away. This is fine.
but at the same time, what did I get out of martial arts was the question. And it's difficult to, I feel like it's difficult to remove me as a person, my personality and everything from a martial arts context. Just because I've never not done it. Even if I'm like injured or something, my whole thought is like, well, I'm going to not be injured so I can get back to doing this. I've struggled with weight going up and weight going down. And it's always been a motivator to me to be like, okay, your weight's too high, man. Like, it's going to be tough to jump rope at boxing or something. Let's get the weight down. Let's go and do something that has battle in it. You know, even my podcast the Ragged World podcast, the reason I'm called Ragged World on Twitch or anything. Can I tell you this?
Yes, this is a great segue.
Okay.
Let's get on into this.
Wait, so like, okay, here's the thing. Even the Ragged World podcast is directly martial arts related. And I'll tell you how. I'll try to tell the story in a way that is an actual story and not a disjointed rambling. I called it Ragged World. And you would think, oh, because it's like the torn up world or the dirty world or something. Or like I have a bad view of the world. It is not that at all. Ragged for me is not torn and tattered and destroyed. Ragged for me is an image in my mind of the black belt that you see the sensei wearing, that he's been wearing for more than a decade, probably 20 years. And if you've ever seen these black belts, they start getting frayed and ragged. And that's the kind of ragged I'm talking about. And like, just specifically that. I have this image of like the world with a big ragged black belt tied around it.
I love it.
So that's why I called it Ragged World 100%. And so I just started to take the idea of martial arts. Well, there's another small reason too. There's a swordsman named Teshu. He was in the 1800s.
Yeah, I know about Teshu.
You know Teshu?
Yeah. I have a book about his way of the sword. Not that I've gone through it, but yeah.
I think it's called The Way of the Sword, actually, right?
Yeah.
I have the book over there. It's literally over there.
We have the same book.
Oh, wow. So, okay, you know Teshu.
Yeah, I know Teshu.
He was very extreme. He was like a big guy and did like zillions and zillions of calligraphy. He tried to like have sex with like 1,000 women or something because he wanted to master. If he was a swordsman, he felt like you have to master sex, you have to master calligraphy, you have to master the sword, and you have to master yourself from Zen meditation. But he was like a wild dude, so he didn't really make a lot of money or anything. It's just martial arts, right? So he oftentimes maybe a nickname of his was Ragged Teshu because he had ragged clothes. and that's what they called him, Ragged Teshu. And so I was like, but Ragged Teshu was the best swordsman. So, like I kind of like Ragged. It sounds awesome, Ragged Teshu. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a little bit of that too. Like the Ragged Black Belt, the Ragged Samurai that's just like, this is the thing I'm doing. And I don't care about my clothes and I don't care about everything else. I care about this. So I feel like in the world, in the wider context of that, there's people like you who care about what you're doing and care about how you do it, care about your life. There's people who do interesting, like on the podcast, there's been people who do special effects mask making, right? And that's their mastery, that's their bushido, if you want. It's their beauty, their battle, their business, their whatever. And so we put that in there. And there's a guy who makes guitars, and there's a dude who's a writer, there's a dude who makes apps. There's all of these things to me are your ragged pursuit, if you will. And so I call it the Ragged World.
Tell me about how you got your podcast started in the first place. Let's move on to the podcast talk.
Oh, okay. Podcast talk.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I hope I'm not messing you up. I really do.
It's okay.
This is how I do stuff. But you can tell me anything, you direct me however you like. I want this to be the thing you want. So
I want every interview to be different. So however this conversation flows is how it flows. So anyway, podcast.
The way so I started my podcast originally for a kind of a weird reason. Like I don't know if you know this about me. I've said it a few times on Twitch, but like when I took the vaccine, I had a bit of a side effect where it was giving me brain fog, it was making me really dull in my mind. And I was like, I'm struggling writing the books that I was writing. So I thought, like, is there something else right now that I've wanted to do for a long time that I could maybe do while I'm trying to clear this problem up? And so one of those things was I had this idea that I wanted to interview 1,000 people because I felt I didn't know people that well.
How very
Like,
Teshu of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna interview 1,000 people. We'll have sex, maybe. So no, I don't know. I don't know about the sex, but I definitely haven't had sex with anybody yet. So sorry, everybody, but it's coming. It's coming. Boom, ayo. So yeah, I thought now's the time to start, I guess. So I just did it. I just said, what would I want this to be about? And I figured the spine of it is beauty, battle, business, because those are the three things that seem to, I don't know, they can be so strong and also very misunderstood, I think, as well. Which we all think we know what those things are, but what is a battle? Is it just a war? Is it fighting? Or is it also you struggling with something emotionally? Like there's battles in a lot of different ways. So that was interesting. Beauty. We think of aesthetic beauty, but there's more. There's more. And then what is aesthetic beauty? I wanted to get into that. That's why the horror movie mask maker was the first person I had on the podcast, because they use an incredible skill in art, something they had to learn, they had to go to school for, and they had to practice many, many times to make something that's ugly, essentially, because horror is horror. It's horrific. And so that was really interesting to me, of like what different styles of beauty exist. And business, because we all find a way to run our lives, which are a kind of business, like our personal business and our professional business. And sometimes those things are indistinguishable. So yeah, that was why I did it. And then also what I was trying to do was just essentially meet as many people as I could, talk to them, and just see what people are all about.
So now you've been doing Twitch, and are you still keeping up with the podcast? Tell us about the progression of Twitch and podcast.
Okay, so this is where things get squirrely, because I was like, I want to do Twitch for a fun reason originally, just for a fun reason. There were 1950s comics. I had this idea. I when I was learning how to do my motion comics, I mentioned earlier, like I made my comic. I was like, I got to make trailers for these. I learned to animate these trailers as best as I could. I made them. And in searching for how to make motion comics, I ran into a thing that didn't really help me make them because I used a completely different system. But this person had said, "Oh, I like to make them out of these old 1950s public domain comics." And I was like, "There's thousands and thousands of these comics here. I should read them one day." And then, of course, you don't, like you don't, because I don't have time for that. And I was doing my podcast, and I thought I'd love to be able to post a little more on Instagram and stuff, but I only have a few clips. Like each podcast has like 3 or 4 clips. That's what I can post. Is there something else I could do that maybe is a bit fun? And I thought I could read these 1950s comics, then I'd get to read them, and also maybe we have some fun. We can make fun of them too when they're silly and all that, because usually it's old fashioned and it's kind of fun. So I started doing that on Twitch. I was like, what's the platform? Twitch seemed to be the platform to me for that. I get to talk to people directly. I can live stream. I get to connect right away with people. Here's the thing. People like you and people like Infozar and people like just a zillion people, amazing people. They're all streamers. I'm starting to meet all these people who are streamers. I was like, I got to talk to these people though. I interview people. And I got into doing that. And I got to be honest with you, I got super lazy with the actual podcast. It just became like, okay, I got to just do Twitch stuff, But it was in the back of my mind for a while. And like I was telling you earlier, this is the very first time anyone's seen this background, because after I went to TwitchCon in October, I went to all the classes. I went to all of the meetups. I went to all the things while I was there. And I was like, Twitch seems to want to be a thing that is in combination with something else. That initial idea of I'll do Twitch and the podcast made the most sense. And I was like, I miss doing my podcast that was about this specific thing. As much fun as I'm having on Twitch, I have to find a way to do both things. So I basically took a break from everything and then said, I'm going to redo my background. I'm going to rethink my podcast, and I'm going to rethink my Twitch stream and come back with it with a whole new vibe. And I'm hopefully too something that's more authentically me as well, because just trying to entertain or being silly isn't just me. That's not the only thing I'm trying to do. And I felt like maybe that's what I fell into on Twitch, because it's kind of a goofy atmosphere. And I was just being a bit goofy. And it's a nice place to be goofy, but where's the not goofy stuff? And so that's the podcast.
Right.
Did that answer the question, or did I ran?
No, both. Yes. The answer is yes. And it was perfect. It was perfect. Don't choke.
Okay.
Don't die.
I'll try. No promises.
But your new background, it is very sleek, and but it still has the essence of what you had before. It still has a bit of a synthwave kind of feel, but it's not like a punch to your face.
Yeah, no, I did pink, purple, and blue. In the background, it was like, it's the synthwave colors. I was like, well, those are the colors. That's what I like. And you know why I did that? Because I have a comic book called Gutshot, where I only ever got a few pages of it made, but those are the colors. It's a sci-fi comic about an android who is destroyed essentially they're like an android who does piloting. They pilot ships through hyperspace, and whatever the difficult runs are where they're worried they might kill a pilot, basically, they have the android do it.
Awesome.
So she does get destroyed and comes back to life, basically sentient, and puts together a space, like she takes the pieces of the destroyed ship, the CPU and the engines and everything, puts them together into a space like motorcycle essentially, and starts going on her journey of self-discovery during that time, and fighting off the humans who start to find that there's a rogue android running around.
That's badass. When did you make that?
Like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I guess. It's a long time ago, but I just never knew really what to do with these things either. So the colors are, long story short, the colors are pink and purple and blue and a lot of those kind of colors, the synthwave style colors, and yeah, yeah, like I just said, okay, well, I have a lot of material from this, so my backgrounds and all of my overlays and stuff were that. So it became, I might as well make my lighting that. And I said, did I want this, or did I do it because it was the thing that I could do the easiest, and I wanted to express my comic books because I was reading comic books and this was a comic book theme, but it has gotten so far away from comic books at this point that, is this what we're really doing? And so I felt the change was necessary.
You know, I'm just gonna go on a bit of a rant, so let's talk about like art
Please.
styles and stuff. But like the thing that drives me nuts about synthwave use nowadays is that I don't think people are using it correctly. They just default to using it because it's the fucking easiest thing to do. And they just, you know, default to the sunset background and like 3 colors and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's synthwave. It's eye-catching," but they don't understand what it is. Like, can we please talk about this?
Yes. Like, please tell me though. Actually, I want you to, I think you know this better than I do.
What?
So I want, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know I grew up in the era of these actual colors and the actual like electronic music and stuff like that that comes through, and there's a vibe we're aiming at here that synthwave is, that I think maybe it's like, these are cool colors these days. And it's just it is easy to do. And while this is funny, I'm looking at my screensaver on my other screen, which is like, I think Cyberpunk from Cyberpunk, 2077. So yeah, but please, you tell me what your thoughts are on it, and maybe it'll spark something for me, because I think I could probably use some education there.
Oh, you're telling me, but you grew up in the era. Like I've talked about how certain styles are born off of other styles. Like I see a lot of like streamlined modern in synthwave architecture, like the way that spaceships are designed, the way that cars are eventually designed. It's like you take a certain style and then you redesign it to make it more modern and of the era. And I think people take that modern redesign and they just kind of they don't do anything with it. It's like a cut and paste. And when they cut and paste it, sometimes it's just wrong and it doesn't look good.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I guess, you know, it's almost, again, because we were talking about martial arts, I think this brings some of that. There was a thing I once learned in a class where I was struggling to shorten the distance. Like I was trying to close the distance, that's what I'm saying, between me and the other person to get the kote, right? And they were like, from here you should be able to get there like in one step. I was like, I'm like 10 feet away, dude.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I know this. I know that struggle.
Right? You understand. So, but it's like, no, this is actually the distance. And if you want to be out of distance, you have to be this far away, and then you have to be able to close that in a snap. So I was trying to figure that out. I couldn't do it. I was trying to think of like, okay, it's like these 2 kinds of steps. Like here, you can take these 2 steps and you're going to be there. Wasn't working. And the teacher was like, okay, just think about cutting the arm. Think about cutting his arm off and try to do that. And then I did it. I closed the distance. I didn't have to. I stopped thinking about my feet. I stopped thinking about if my body was moving enough. I stopped thinking about how far away it was. I just looked at that dude's arm, let the blinders come on. It was just like, all I see is this guy's arm, and then wow, you're there. You know, you're there. You're cutting it off. So if your intention is to cut the arm, you will probably cut the arm. If your inner intention is to take 2 steps and move over to the guy. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I do think it's the wrong thing. If you're just saying, well, I want it to be purple and pink. Well, because that looks cool.
But why?
Well, why? Why does it matter? And yeah, I think finding it's not the worst thing in the world to say, I like the way it looks and I'm going to use it because that's what I like. But you are reusing something. So essentially you've got to have, I don't know, I've always felt that I have a bit of a punker vibe, but somewhat of a also electronic vibe, which is what a cyberpunk kind of is. I'm into sci-fi. I've always been into martial arts and sci-fi. So those two things kind of come together. And I mean, you've seen this, probably.
Yeah. Yes. Show that off for
Right?
the camera. Show it off. Show it all off. I love it.
So that's the story here.
But you
let me do
added a
this.
new section to it. You added a thing in the middle, because it was just a
Yes.
stripe last time.
It was just the stripes. I added this
Uh-huh.
in the center,
I like
and I
it.
feel like I feel like it's now the pinnacle of what this can be.
I like it.
When I started this, I just had like 3 little stripes, and I was like, what are we doing? It's like, we're gonna do this. Let's do this all the way.
Yeah,
you
just
know?
add a little panache to it. Love it.
Yeah. And I've always wanted this haircut since the 80s. So, because I'd see it in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Bebop had a mohawk, and probably Vanilla Ice had like like lines in his hair, but like lots of people in the 80s and 90s had lines, and I just never did it. And I was like, well, wait, I'm allowed to do whatever I want.
See, it's funny you bring that up now, because I don't see enough synthwave, cyberpunk, or 80s retro redesigned characters with stripes like that. And if it was
Oh,
everywhere, then where is it now?
that's a good point. Who has stripes? I mean, I think you see it a little bit in maybe anime, some cyberpunk style anime. You'll see a line or two, but the stripes all the way and a full hawk and everything, I don't know. I can't pick one. I'm trying to think of one to be like to prove it wrong, but I think you're right. Jeez.
Just complete side note, you've seen the cyberpunk anime, right?
I have, yes.
It's that is just such an eye candy. It's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
eye candy.
There's a lot. What I've been doing with Japanese shows lately is to try to understand as much as I can in terms of what they're saying, and then see how different the subtitles are from what is being said. And then one step further than that, I'm trying to see if what is in the subtitles is actually what is meant, the spirit of what is being said. Like, I could give you an example. Like, these two guys are arguing. They're friends for a long time, but now they can't be friends anymore. Let's put it that way. That's what's happening in the scene.
That's every anime.
And so that's what's happening. And the one guy is asking, please just forgive me. Let's go on like we were going on. And the other guy says, mo owarida. Mo owarida. And that means, like, I'm like, okay, I know what those words are. It's mo owarida. That means already, finished, and it is, essentially. So it's already finished. It's already done. So I'm sure I've got it. The subtitle says, please leave, which is not what he's, it's not what he's saying. I asked my Japanese teacher about, I said, mo owarida. And she was like, so do you know what that means? And I was like, well, it's already finished. She's like, literally, that's what it means, but no, that's not what we mean. What we mean is it can't be fixed. And I was like, there's always some like long distance thing. Like, I'm like, okay, so, but please leave was wrong. But he was trying to, I guess sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't get it. But I feel like the spirit is often there. So like, there's this interesting distance between Japanese and English that I love, and that's what I want to get to. Sorry, totally not the topic.
No, it's okay. I'm really appreciating the rambling.
I ramble.
Ramble World.
Ramble World is really what it is. But yeah, for Cyberpunk, I think there is this idea of that maybe gets missed. It's really aesthetic, and that's great. But we do get, I think, caught up in the aesthetics in a lot of things lately, and not in the heart or spirit of it sometimes. I do feel that way a little bit when you're remaking something, which I honestly am a little tired of seeing things only being remade again and again and again. I understand why, and it's nice to be able to see it if you're from a younger generation. But we get the aesthetics right a lot of the time, but not necessarily the spirit of the thing. Yeah, a lot. I think a one way to say it is people talk about people from the 90s, the kids in the 90s, and they say they were angry, but they didn't know why.
That's
And it's like,
adorable. That is so adorable. That is so
And that, but
adorable.
okay, why is it adorable? Tell me what are you
I was a
thinking?
kid in the 90s. Like, I know why I was angry, but I don't remember a lot. I don't remember anger. I just don't remember a lot of that. I don't know where they're getting that. That is a very weird and very cute generalization of an
Okay.
entire generation.
That's it. And I'll be like, I could tell you, yeah, no, I knew why I was angry.
Hmm.
You know? And then yeah, a lot of our shows and media and music and stuff, I think reflected some of that. Where it's just like let's go crazy and let's be dark and angry and let's go. And a lot of energy, a lot of extreme. I think in the 90s, if you watched any commercial, it was all extreme.
Hmm.
We had extreme
Yes.
sports and we had extreme everything.
Oh, that's true.
Extreme milk and cookies, I think. Like we had extreme.
Yeah. Oh gosh, all of the kids game shows. God, Slime Time Live was a thing. Like, I don't know why that came to mind first, but Slime Time Live and like what the temple Raiders of the temple what was that game show with the Barracudas? The only team I remember. Uh
I feel like it's vague in my memory, so I don't
yeah.
know if I'm gonna be a help to you.
Yeah, somebody in chat is probably screaming the name right now, and they're like, "It's Temple of the Lost Temple thing."
Is
Yeah,
it like where you had to go through a bunch of different
yeah,
things to try to, yeah,
but
and
they
you
had
have to
like,
try to win.
but they had kid obstacle course game shows.
That's it. Yeah,
Like,
I
you're
know the I
right,
know the show.
extreme. Yeah, they had
Is
extreme
it
everything.
Golden Temple or something?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
we're
I thought
driving
Golden
people.
was in there somehow. Yeah,
We're driving people in
please.
chat crazy.
We are. Okay, so okay, well then what is your take then on the whole vibe of the 90s? This is a thing that I feel like is now at the peak of trendiness right now, is like movies and music and stuff that was all from the 90s. People are wearing flannel shirts and stuff now again. I see baggy pants again. I see baggy shirts. All that stuff. I even see people wearing overalls sometimes, even with the one strap undone. So I'm
Yeah.
like, this is getting ridiculous. What is your thoughts of the vibe of the 90s and aesthetics of that? I think it was somewhat hard to pin down
It
to me.
was.
So what's your thoughts?
I also feel like it's hard to pin down, and it's weird to see what people are pulling from it. Like, I'm seeing very specific instances, like the background from Rugrats, or the spray painted Z on the side of a cup. Very specific elements that come through, but they don't really feel 90s. And I will say, those are all things that drove me fucking nuts as a kid. I hated the design aesthetic of the 90s. It does not bring me happy nostalgia vibes to see those things coming back because I thought that they were just ugly as hell.
They
Um,
kind of are.
but they are. But some of those things I notice, like they call back to the 80s. It's like they tried to take some of the things from the 80s and modernize them just a little bit. There wasn't anything really too innovative.
Yeah.
I,
No, it's true. The 80s felt a lot more innovative, didn't they?
hmm.
And honestly, like, because they've been remaking stuff from the 80s since the 90s.
Yeah.
That's like what I'll say. Like, there's been 80s movies. Like, there was the Adam Sandler movie, The Wedding Singer, right? And
Yeah.
it's a 90s movie. I think it came out in like 94 or 96, something like that.
But
And it's like,
everything is
look,
so overly 80s.
it's meant to be a period piece of the 80s.
Uh-huh.
And like, so they've been doing that since then, and it continued up until just the last couple of years, where it's like, okay, I think we've used everything from the 80s. I guess it's 90s now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, nostalgia goes on a very specific decade cycle. Like the 80s was popular from the 90s until about, I don't know, 30, 40 years after. And then that generation, the parents who grew up in that generation are looking back on those design aesthetics and those fun things that they had when they were a kid, and then that's when that becomes marketable again. So like
Yeah.
the people in the 80s were really really big on things from the 50s, and that's why checkered was really big, that's why neon pink was very big, that's why like those certain things were big because they were again taken and modernized. um yeah.
True. Super, super true. And also, I think probably cocaine, because the 80s, like, there was a lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
They had the fresh supply. Okay, so this is really cool then, because I have a question for you. Do you feel like, I feel that some eras are a little stronger in their aesthetics than other eras? Like the 50s is, it's crazy. 50s and 60s were big. 70s, I feel like it does kind of bleed a little. It's like a cross between the 60s and the 80s at some point. Like it became those brown colors and like that pea soup green color. You saw that a lot in the 70s. I think maybe some of it was in the 60s too. So it was like they carried that. Then it started switching into the 80s kind of vibe. So I feel like maybe the 70s wasn't quite as strong as like the 60s or 50s. And then the 80s was really strong in terms of its aesthetic. You can pick a few different things. You can be like, hey, that's a rocker aesthetic from the 80s. Oh, that's a hip hop aesthetic from the 80s. That's a cyberpunk aesthetic or a synthwave aesthetic or new wave, the pastels and all that stuff. That's from the 80s. The 90s became like, okay, we don't like aesthetics and we're going to do everything ugly, sort of. That was the night. So again, that feels a little bit like the way the 70s was. Like it was weaker.
I think the
Do
exact
you feel like
same
does this
thing.
make sense?
It's the same thing. The exact same thing.
Wow. So
I'm
are we
sorry.
onto something?
No. I think about this a lot, especially because I think the younger parents of the 90s, the people who had their kids when they were like 20, or maybe they had maybe they had lots of siblings and they were caring for their younger sibling, whatever the case may be, I am noticing a big uptick in what people call 70s design aesthetics. Flares are coming back, bell bottoms are coming back. People are wearing bell bottoms just for funsies now. And I'm all about it. I fucking love it. But I'm seeing a lot of like some people are hearkening on their streams to design aesthetics of the 70s shows. And I think like TV bumps are the only time that I've ever seen something strictly 70s. I did a bit of research for this when I was making my new show bump for Art Has Peaked. A lot of 70s,
wow.
well, a lot of 70s design aesthetics involves something like an echo. Um, like a lot of Pantones, a lot of like you could type out a word and you can guarantee that there are going to be layers and layers and layers behind it of like a reflection, but in different colors that kind of cascade into nothingness. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There are some really sharp angles, but when there are sharp angles, they're extremely bold, and the curly and softer and more rounded images and letters, they
Like the round fonts for sure
yeah,
was huge, right?
so many round fonts. Those were super common and they were bold, but they're a lot less extreme than those of the 60s. They were trying to like refine it and make it more adult, I guess.
Oh, that's a good point because it was really cartoony in the 60s a little bit. Like those bubbly letters. But the 70s one is sharper.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't think I would have even thought of that if you didn't tell me right now.
Like when I did my show logo, I wanted it to be this horrible, ugly mishmash of like several decades of awful designs. You've got like the grid from the 80s, pixelization. You've got like awful clip art, styles of shading, and then you've also got a 70s font, but also a 60s font. It's supposed to be really ugly and confusing.
It sounds like it. No offense.
No, that was the goal.
It's your purpose. I got you. Oh, this is crazy. Tell me a little bit more about your new show. I guess like I won't. Well, you know, I'm interested because I don't think we had a real conversation about what it was about in that sense. We're going to talk about art. You know, like I know me and you were thinking we were going to talk about art. You know, but
we did though.
This sounds like
and we have, and we are, and that's what it is.
No. And that's what it is. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay.
So let's move into the biggest question that I have for everybody, and everybody has to answer this. What is art to you?
Whoa, jeez, what a question. Okay, what is art to me? Oh boy. Okay. Well, I think I'm probably going to say something that a lot of people say, but I think it is the expression of something.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, an expression of something. We were talking about the synthwave thing and how it's not really synthwave style if you're not actually expressing the synthwave vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's essentially it. So if if you are, we like to say expressing ourselves, I guess it's, I don't know if I like that as much because it could be you're expressing yourself or it could be you're expressing this idea that you had, and it may not be your whole self necessarily that is being expressed, but you are now the filter through which this particular idea is being expressed, and then you're using some medium as the pen, you know, that with which you are writing. So to me, that to me is what art is. It's something that expresses something, and it's not necessarily just utilitarian. It may have a utilitarian aspect, but I tend to, just my own personal perspective is that it may have utility, it may not have utility other than to be art. So that's it. And in Japanese, I like the way they put it because it's bijutsu.
Bijutsu.
That's, yeah. So you know jutsu, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you know kenjutsu, and bi is beauty. So it's
Oh.
essentially the technique of beauty. So bijutsukan is a room where the technique of beauty is, and it's art. It's an art gallery, right? So for me, that's it. Bijutsu is sort of the idea. It's this technique of expressing beauty, and then now that leaves the doors open pretty wide for what art is, in my opinion. It's like if you can do something beautiful
Mhm.
that is perceived to be beautiful by somebody, then you may have some art.
Maybe this is the thing that you wanted to get to when you mentioned it earlier, but you wanted to talk about aesthetic beauty versus not aesthetic beauty? Or
Oh,
yeah,
true.
yeah.
You
Circle
want
it
me to
back
say
around.
things? Let's get it. Thank you. You're wrangling this herd of cats that is my conversation style. So thank you there,
I help.
mother. Um, so I never asked you. Well, I think I did ask you about Mother of Carp. Now it's been a while, so I have to do that again. Yeah, aesthetic beauty versus not aesthetic beauty, like because there could be a beautiful feeling, right? You can't see it, you feel it, right? So like there's an example of it. Um, but yeah, I think the difference is sort of that non-aesthetic beauty is ethereal would be my thoughts, and you just everyone somehow gets the vibe. Like you listen to some music and it's beautiful and everyone starts crying because it's this beautiful song, whether it be the lyrics or whether it be the just the vibration that's hitting us as people. I don't know why that happens. Do you know why that happens?
I
Well,
don't know. I've been working in
okay,
the music
sorry.
industry for 8 years and I still don't know.
Well, it's a mystery, right? So that's the mysterious side, I think, of beauty. I think there's. Do you know the anime One Punch Man?
Yes, I love One Punch Man.
Okay, so I think there's a character called Moomin Rider.
Mm-hmm.
He's the hero, but he's just a guy and he rides a bike,
Yeah.
right? But he always shows up when there's trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows for a fact he can't win. He knows that, but he's like, well, if the monster's beating the crap out of me, then maybe some people will have a chance to get away.
Mm-hmm.
So there's beauty in that in a way. Like he doesn't win, he's not strong, he's got nothing, but it's beautiful that he's willing. His heroism is beautiful. So that's a non-aesthetic beauty as well. I think we know aesthetic beauty is just something that really catches your eye. I think a lot of the times, and that could be a lot of things too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pretty face or something, but that's beautiful too. I'm not crapping on a pretty face. Like, let's be honest, that's nature's beauty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's the aesthetics of how things are arranged. I think it's another thing I like about Japan and Tokyo and stuff. I feel like even the urban sprawl is kind of beautiful, even though traditionally we don't find that beautiful. We consider that to be dystopian, actually, when there's just a zillion buildings and nothing else. But the way they, I don't know how to do their architectural, what am I trying to say, layout, like their city layouts. You look and you're like, this is actually kind of beautiful, the angles that I'm seeing here. So, there's aesthetics in that regard too. So lines, curves, lighting, and just the prettiness of a thing, I think is aesthetic beauty to me. How does that sound to you? Is this working for
That
you?
sounds great. I love that. I love that. Like, oh, but you're right. There is aesthetic beauty in the things that we don't expect there to be. And whether it be intentional or unintentional, that's up to the maker. But I love that in Japanese art, everything is intentional. Even if it seems simple and even if it seems very small, it still all has intent to it. I mean,
Yeah, intentional. And I think that's where we're at. So for art, that's your question there of the art.
mhm.
That's what art is to me. Is that um, I guess following through on an intention to express. So yeah, I think yeah, it kind of comes back to that too.
Okay, all right. Here's a really good one. I want to know what your strongest and your weakest forms of art are.
Oh, okay. Strongest and weakest. Ooh, my goodness. I don't know. I feel like semi weak in lots of them. So, I'll have to say, I think my strongest art form, if this is if you want to call it an art form, I'm going to, is probably talking, if we want to put it
Ah,
that way. I think like like you asked me a question and I can just rattle off forever and ever with that. I still think there are some areas of communication that I could work on for sure. Like maybe not ramble in a million directions. If I could package my talking into a more succinct and the direct, clear, easy to take in way, I think I'd like to do that. But I think probably talking is the strongest. Just relating through speech probably is the way to go. Um, Second would probably be the writing. Then then it would be probably then it would be something like music because I think sound is so hard. I
yes.
find it's a difficult art form. Like, please, you seems like you got something to say about
Oh no, no, no. Go on. I'm like just very excited to agree with you. Yes, it's
that.
difficult.
Yeah, sound has just got it's in a way it's like the more difficult lighting almost. Do you know what I mean? Like lighting is kind of hard. This is as good as I can do right now with lighting, but it's a lot easier than sound. Like getting sound to be the right kind of volume and clarity
Mhm.
is already super hard. Then let's say you were to add instruments, or it's a music or it's a television show, or you've got all these different types of ways of doing sound. Just the technology involved, the what I find to be the mathematics, I guess if you want to put it that way, involved is crazy. And it's just so much work. Anybody who's doing sound engineering, I think, is incredible. It's almost like they're doing magic to me.
Oh yeah. It takes so many skills, so many years to master it too. And even professionals, they will still be down on themselves and they'll never think that they've got it right. It's such a difficult art form. And then
So
there's like
that's my worst.
and then there's like producing is an art of music and composition is a different art form of music and just there are just so many aspects in music that that make up the art form.
That's definitely true, and that's definitely my weakest because I think I'm like it's I like the way this sounds. Like that's about as good as I
Yeah.
get with any of this. So that's my weakest one. But
And
yeah, I
then
think does
yeah, and then
talking count as
throwing
an art
the
form?
well,
Sorry,
I
go.
also like no, no, I'm the asshole who's interrupting, but also like throwing in different also throwing in different sound clips. I find it really hard to distinguish what you like and what works well in the piece, if that makes sense. Because I end up just liking
Mm,
everything.
really?
Yeah, everything I just end up liking everything, and I just have a hard time deciding on what to actually throw together. Do you ever have that problem?
I don't like everything, that's for sure. I have the opposite problem where I think everything sounds too crappy and it needs to be better. But then, I think I have like maybe that's at the beginning. But then as I go further into making a song,
Mhm.
I think that's when I'm like, hey, this isn't quite good enough, but then maybe it's good enough because I don't know what to do past a certain point. I think there's like a learning threshold I need to break through or something.
Oh, what tools do you use for music, by the way?
All I use is a software called FL Studio, which is
Oh, Fruity Loops.
Fruity Loops
Yeah.
Studio. That's it. I have the producer's edition of that,
Oh,
and
nice.
they have a bazillion plugins. I want to get more plugins because they have some really good sound stuff. But every time I get a plugin, suddenly I'm better at music. But so it
You're
helps.
adding an instrument to your repertoire.
Yeah. So that's it. I do like to do it as more like a hobby, or particularly recently where there's podcasting and Twitch streaming made me do it a lot more because I wanted to. I end up singing a lot on stream, and
Yes.
so I was like, okay, it would be cool if there was more like a beat that I could play or whatever. So anytime I have content to make and I don't want to use somebody else's thing, I want to I make something for myself or just feel like it. I get inspired by the drum beat a lot of times of a song or something, if somebody's music, and I'm like, oh, how do they do that drum beat? And I try to recreate it from ear, and it's like just a nice thing to do, fun thing to do.
You do sing. You sing really, really well when you sing on stream. Have you ever had vocal lessons, or have you ever done like professional vocals, or?
No, a couple of times, like once or twice, somebody has been like, here's how you do this, but I have never taken lessons or continued with something like that. But so
Ah.
not really. No, I just this is just what I'm doing. I never thought of necessarily being like singing as a thing, but yeah.
But I mean, you do it really well because you have a lounge style singing voice, and
Well,
like.
thank you.
Do you want to sing a song? Sing
Do
a
you
song?
want do you want to sing a song? Do you want me
Yeah.
Is it okay to sing a song on your podcast?
Yes.
It doesn't like mess things up for like copyrights or anything like that?
I mean, if we do it a cappella, or
If we do it a cappella, we're okay?
yeah, yeah.
Is that what
I
it
mean,
is?
you can't really give somebody shit for doing a cover of a song, right?
I
Right?
suppose.
I mean, like to a degree, to a degree.
We gotta, yeah. Well, look, if you want me to sing a song, I can sing a
Uh-huh,
song.
uh-huh,
You were talking about lounge
uh-huh,
stuff.
uh-huh.
Do you like that, or is there
Oh
something
yeah.
you like? You
I
do?
mean, I freaking love lounge.
Because I generally one that always comes to mind. I oftentimes sing Frank Sinatra songs because he had like a particular timbre to his voice that I just don't I don't hear it anywhere. I'm kind of like, in a way, I feel like there was a couple people like that, like Ray Charles and Frank Sinatra had their own voice, and nobody else sounds like that. And even when people sing the same songs, they can't quite get there. So that's the way this is going to be, because I can't quite get there. I'm not Frank Sinatra, but
That's okay.
I like the song "The Summer Wind." So you literally just you're sitting there as bold as brass, saying,
Uh-huh.
"Sing a song to me right now."
Yes, right this
Oh,
minute.
okay. Let's see what happens. I gotta think about how the thing goes. Let's go. The summer wind came blowing in from across the sea. It lingered there to touch your hair and walk with me. All summer long we sang a song, and then we strolled that golden sand. Two sweethearts and the summer wind. You want me to keep going?
You can keep going if you want, but that was great. Thank you.
Was that good enough?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, cool. We did it. We did it. We sang a song.
Yay! There's
like-
the art content. That was the art content.
I always found, like, though, with singing, it was difficult for me to not copy to some degree somebody else's way or style. That's another thing with singing, right? Like that, if you do the lounge thing, it's like that.
Oh,
But then
yeah.
if I'm thinking about like grunge, we were talking about the 90s, and there's that song I like to sing on stream all the time is a my girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? In the pines, where the sun don't never shine. I will shiver the whole night through. Right? I like I like to try to shift if I can. I like to
I
try to shift if I can.
I love that you still have a bit of a lounge flair when you sing grunge. I think that that's really like that's what I love to do. I love to throw in like
My girl, don't lie to me.
yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it works sometimes.
It works sometimes.
Yeah, works sometimes.
Well, no, I'll know that I should stick to lounge then. Apparently,
Mhm,
with singing. So yeah, no, I like to sing. So, but it's that's also a fun thing, you know. I like to sing, but it would be cool to do voice lessons. That would be really fun at
Yes.
some point. Get better at it, improve. But this is the thing. There's lessons to do for so many things. Like
Re-
what would you want to improve in right now if you could?
Oh God, what a load of what a question.
Is there too
What
much
wouldn't
to
I want to improve on?
it? I guess it's
God,
everything.
seriously, it is everything. I mean, I would love to improve on music because I think that's my weakest art form too. I after 8 years in the industry, I'm horrible at it. I'm so bad.
Okay.
So bad.
And I've seen you do a lot of crafting. I've seen you do a few different types of things.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And I just thought about it because I've watched you make dice,
Yeah.
and this Christmas, me and my wife made our own board game,
Oh
like
shoot.
from scratch. It was a dice using game, and we had to paint miniatures for the first time. So it made me think of you a little bit because I always see you painting something or another, or doing wood burning, or doing like a ton of different styles of art. So like, what's your top art?
Oh
Um,
gosh.
if
I
you
don't
had to pick
even
one.
Oh God, I don't even know. You know,
Well, neither did I.
yeah,
You made me.
I'm
You made
asking
me
all
answer
these questions and I can't
it.
even answer 'em myself. Gosh, my best art form is probably mm, gotta look around the room a bit. I gotta look around the room.
I like your background too. It's cool the place that you're in.
Oh, thanks. It's real. It's all real. This is all
That's
real. Wait, I'm gonna warm this up. Um,
that's always been cool about your stream too. Is you've got like an awesome aesthetic. The 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 television from yesteryear kind of vibe is super cool, and you're always able to do something awesome with that. Like,
Thank you.
so yeah.
You know what? That's an area that I wish I could improve on because, like, I'm really, I know how to do electronics. I can replace parts, but like working on electronics is an art form that like I don't think a lot of people know that it's an art. Like it's scientific and there's a way to do it, but there is an art to it. And like I wish I had the balls to work on this thing because this thing has enough voltage to kill me in an instant if I tried to work on it and did it wrong.
Oh, whoa, snap.
So, like, if
I,
that
I
thing
don't want you to.
breaks,
I don't
if
want you
that,
to die from it.
I mean, it'd be a hell of a death, am I right?
I think so. Can you tell me though what is the? I think there's a reason why a lot of people don't know this. Like, why is it an art form? Like, tell me more.
Okay, so like there's a lot of practice that goes into it, right? So there's a lot of
Mhm.
practice with soldering. Circuits can be done in multiple ways, but there's also they'll tell you to simplify some things, but maybe it doesn't need to be simplified. There's also something to be said about like when you're making fuzz pedals or just any effect pedal in general. There are a million fuzzes out there on the market, and everybody has a very particular circuit. Maybe you're using a different capacitor, and you just hear something that's a little bit sweeter or something a little bit sharper in the tone, and it's just a hair of a difference from another manufacturer. But the manufacturer usually notices the difference based on one small change in the circuit. And they're like, that's better. That sounds like what I need. That sounds like what everything else on the market is missing. And I think that that is an art form.
That does sound like an art form because it sounds like a greater than the sum of its parts kind of situation.
Literally.
Yeah, because everyone's putting in similar parts,
Mhm.
but maybe they've changed this, or this slightly, and it's all different.
Yeah.
I always wonder what the X factor of things when it comes to art is. Because there's certain people like there's a guitar player named Justin Johnson that I listen to, and I know that it's him if he's playing anything. And same with my wife. She's like, "Oh, is that guy?" Like, because she doesn't always remember his name. She's like, "Is that guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is. Of course, you did. You know, like, and he's just playing blues guitar or whatever, but
Yeah,
somehow he always sounds a little different. And
you just
he
notice.
makes guitars and stuff as well, so maybe that sound tweaking is something. And then I guess
Yeah.
talked about Frank Sinatra, and so I guess there's probably some people in your field of electronics
Hmm.
that are just like the virtuosos of putting that together, right? Something like that.
Okay.
Now we know what art is.
Now we know what art
Define
is. Art
art.
has peaked.
Art
um.
has the
All
you
right.
know a thing I don't know about art
Huh.
very well is semiotics.
Semiotics. I don't know
Yeah,
a lot about semiotics either.
it's considered a part of art theory, right? Semiotics, it's the symbols, significant symbolism or symbols, their interpretations in art. I guess that's maybe more of like critical
Hmm.
art theory, but I thought about it and I was like, oh, symbols, I don't really know anything about that. But if we both don't know anything about that, then I guess it's a moot point.
We could just make guesses about what it is.
I'm like, yeah. I think there's some of that stuff. I think of maybe not necessarily I think about that in film, maybe. You know,
Mhm.
you can see that, oh, well, this person, he decided to leave, like when they, I don't know, they left the rose on their staircase or something. And like, okay, well, that
Mhm.
symbolizes something, or the calling card of a criminal, maybe,
Mhm.
or just the angles of the camera, I guess, where if you're, if you got this big shot and the character's real small in it, you're saying, okay, maybe they're feeling small.
Mhm.
So like that symbolism, I guess that could be semiotics in art, in film. That
Oh,
I think I can look
absolutely.
at it that way.
One of my favorite show series is Breaking Bad slash Better Call Saul because I love being able to watch the show and hear the script as the camera is panning and just it's like you can hear and see the words that the directors and the writers had written down on the page, and nobody is saying anything. Nobody is addressing these points, and you can make those clear lines, those clear connections. It's great. I fucking love it.
I'm with you. That's my favorite thing in any show or film
Hmm.
is if the subtext shows.
Hmm.
If this is what the intention was and it shows without saying things. Let's put it that way. And there's I think there's a few ways that gets achieved, but I'm always kind of impressed and flabbergasted at like, oh, how did they get it just in tone, basically, essentially in tone. I mean, yeah, in camera work too, because there's the whole language of the lens. I'm actually reading a book right now called Language of the Lens,
Oh.
because I want to know more about this stuff. Like I'm terrible at this too, but if I want to make podcasts, I'm like, I better get better at the lighting. I better get better at my lenses, and my camera works better be kind of awesome. So, and I think a lot of times movies, we like them sometimes without realizing it's the camera work we liked,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Yeah, some brilliant directing will make or break a movie.
Hmm. And you were going to ask me something, then I
Oh
interrupted.
yeah,
We
no, I
started
now I forgot what I
rambling
was gonna.
about nonsense.
No, that's the best part though. For the umpteenth time, it's okay to ramble.
I know, but like I still want you to have I want you to have your show,
I
like
mean, we
I want you to
recorded.
get what you wanted out of this.
We've got like an hour and a half of content already, and I'm gonna be cutting out like some of it. So,
Yeah, all right.
let's see. Okay, okay. Favorite compliment and your favorite criticism of your works.
Oh, favorite compliment.
Hmm.
Favorite criticism is a great question too. Wow. Okay, I should have thought about this more. Um, I think some of my best just compliments are that uh like when I show my trailers that I made, there was a lot of work. Like I worked on those here, I worked on those while I was in Japan.
Hmm.
I had to bring all my stuff, and like I had to drag a couch once towards a little shelf so I could put my laptop on it and work on the couch because they didn't have like the desk thing going in the place we were staying.
Hmm.
And so I feel like I put a lot of work into those animated trailers. And when people watch them and say like, "Oh, I want to see the rest," or I'd like to read that comic.
Hmm.
Just something simple like that just means a lot to me because I don't know if it's good. I made it up. I made up all of it. It's all fake.
Yeah.
you know, it's all not real. I made it up, just me. So if you say you want to see more, well, that's just any nice thing that you say to me about that is meaningful to me. So it's maybe not a great answer,
No, I think it's a
but
great answer.
oh, okay,
It
okay. But that's how I feel about compliments. It's like, oh, this is good. Like
Mhm,
this is actually good. Okay, cool. Because I actually don't know.
mhm,
Um, it's never good enough. It's not as good as the best anime you've ever seen. So I know it's not that good. So how good could it be? And then I get doubts in my mind about that stuff. So
mhm,
best criticism. You know what? I got a great criticism from a streamer the other day. And I don't know
Ooh.
if it was really directly about my work, but it was something I was going to take on
Mhm,
because
mhm.
I thought she was really smart. It's from Miss Lala VT, by the way, if you've ever
Never seen
seen
or
it.
never heard of her.
Okay,
Wait,
well
no.
there's
Oh,
a
wait. Was she on your show?
she was on the on ballroom.
That's right. That's
So
right.
maybe you saw her there. She's a VTuber and her avatar is incredible. She's super funny. Also, like she's just really funny. Anything, it doesn't matter. I don't like care what the format of the show is. She could be doing just chatting, she could be playing games, she could be whatever, reacting to something. She's hilarious. She's awesome. So Miss Lala VT. And I was telling her, oh, okay. She's like, oh, I want to see the thing you made, right?
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, well, it's a little weird. Maybe you didn't understand. Maybe you won't get it because it's just a small part of this comic and it's about this thing. She's like, enough with the prefacing. Forget about the preamble. Just show me the thing. And I was like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Just not qualifying anything, not saying this is what you might think about this because this is what I think about this. Let the person feel about your artwork how they're going to feel. Just
Mhm,
show it to them and be done with it.
mhm.
So that I think was maybe a great criticism.
I love that. And I think that also widens out to like letting your work speak for itself too. And I have a huge problem with this too because like, oh no, they're not going to see all the little nuances and the little things that I've added in. And I'm just so excited to explain all the things, but you got to let the work speak for itself too.
So true. So true. I think that was what I did for actually the game that we made. Um, for what was basically for our nieces and nephews. The kind of thing is that we want to surprise them with like it's not because sometimes we just hang around around Christmas time. The family gathering is just sort of like, hey, it's 8 hours of hanging around. And we're kind of what I'm like, is that really fun? So we want to try to, and we also don't see them that much.
Mhm.
So we thought like, hey, let's show them we care about them and do something, make a game. And kind of we like doing that anyway. So it's for us mostly. So
Mhm.
since it's mostly for us, I was like, these kids are never gonna know everything that went into making this thing. Like we made it has a board, it has tiles, it has a box, it has like 100 different item and event cards that exist,
Wow.
all with artwork and with all the writing, and there's a storyline and all this stuff. We made something like 40 miniatures so that you can play the game on the board game and hand painted every single one of them, right?
Holy shit.
Right. So we did this. And we've never painted anything like this before. I've never painted, but then it turns out apparently I can do that. So it's not as hard as it looked.
Hell yeah.
And so, I was like, I'm going to let them love it or hate it. Maybe this is boring to them. Maybe they don't like it. I enjoyed making it. That's the point. I'm going to let them have their experience and not tell them, oh, by the way, we did this. And by the way, we did that. If they ask, I'll tell you. But I was like, I'm not going to force these kids to feel any particular way about this thing because I don't know. I feel like it's easy to do. You can put pressure on kids that way
Mhm.
when they never asked you to make this. It's a surprise. They might hate it. And that's just the way it's going to go.
That is, I can't even imagine doing an undertaking like making an entire board game with the rule sets and the art. There's so much that goes into it. It is intimidating. I do art that's intimidating, and that's intimidating.
It was hard. Honestly, like we ordered some dice. I have never used like Dungeons and Dragons dice, but I ordered a set and a couple of sets, a bunch of them actually.
Mhm.
And then we had a piece of paper and I said, "This is how tough the last boss of this game is going to be. Let's roll the dice. You roll against them. with using the most power you could possibly roll and see how easy it is to defeat this boss. And we just tallied how many wins, how many losses until the boss was dialed in, and we took it from there. Like a strange place to start, but then it was like, okay, now let's draw a piece of paper, and of course storyline. Like we talked to each other, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, this is where we could do this time, this is the lands we could have, this is the stories, and there is all that universe creation, I guess, but otherwise, just start there, start somewhere, and build up from there. You can do it. It's so crazy how it actually comes together.
And maybe someday I'll have enough courage to do something like that. Who knows? All right, all right, all right. Let's see.
You like a
I'm like
question.
next next question. Let's
Next
see here.
question. Let's
Next
go.
question. Um, oh, how do you value your art?
Oh my god. I don't do a good job of that. I should do a better job of that. I should ask you or anybody else.
I also do a bad job at that.
Do you do
I
a bad
got
job of that?
commissioned this morning and I'm like,
I've done a large portion of my art by myself. I mean, like books is not super hard because other people have books out, so you can kind of go, okay, something that's about this long, that's in this genre, like what does it cost? So that's an easy thing. I think again, maybe I'd probably give myself this advice. Maybe I should look to see what other people have done or other people are doing. Maybe ask what they're doing because I'm terrible at that. I've done a lot of this art for myself and then I'm nervous at the point of the sale part. I don't know why that's the case. Do you know why that is? A lot of artists I think feel that way.
You know, I do you also feel that depending on who you're selling it to? Because I definitely feel that, like, if it's a friend or somebody that I know, it's like, I don't know, I just want to do this nice thing for you. I don't necessarily want to get paid, but it, I don't know.
I feel that way. I feel that way. I understand. And so I'm not sure. What are you aiming at by asking that question? I guess would be a question I have for you.
So that I could get better and see how other people do it.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm not doing well at that, but I think there's some people out there who are very good at it. So I think it's YouTube University at this point where jump on and write, how do I properly value my artwork? And you'll find 8 zillion artists who are like, this is what it's worth, this is what you got to do. Da, 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 da.
See, you do that. I don't know if you have this problem too. I do that and I'm like, okay, well then I put in these numbers. I'm like, that still feels like too much. But I'm like valuing at the minimum rate and it still feels like too much. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good.
That's the thing. I think maybe that's a attitude about money issue and like maybe even a self-confidence issue because I have that too. Like personally, I feel like well, I just like I told you earlier, you heard me say it. I'm like, I just made it. It's fake. It's not even a real thing.
Yeah.
I made it, but I'm like, everybody else made it too. Theirs isn't fake. Why do you think theirs is real and mine's not real?
That is
You
such a
know?
good point.
So there I feel like that's a thing I want to get into a little bit more. I know there's a lot of books like The Energy of Money or The Psychology of Money and that kind of stuff where it's like, hey, this is another way to think about this, particularly if you're in an artistic field, saying, well, I'm planning to work in this because I really like it and my time is just as valuable as anybody else's. And if the quality of what you're doing is just as good as anybody, if your quality is bad, well, then that's something to look at. But if your quality is good, then I think it's fair to say, you know what? I'm putting my time into this. I'm doing it. If you're doing a favor for a friend or you're doing gifts, that's another thing. But if this is something you're saying, well, okay, I'm doing this work. I'm happy to give you this kind of a deal because you're a friend of mine, but it's not because I'm worth less than that. So I
Right.
think that's a thought that comes to mind for me is like, no, we're just as worthy to be paid for these things and to do well. And the better we get paid, I think the more we can do this kind of work as opposed
Absolutely.
to the starving artist, which is really it's sexy. It's sexy, but I don't think it's a dead end at some point. Like you only takes you so far. You can't do incredible like if you're trying to do these bigger projects or get with more people or work with more artists or something, it's harder if you're undervaluing yourself and your time. I'm telling that to myself, I think, because I'm just told you, I'm like, I don't know, 0. When you're like, what's your artwork worth? I'm like, I don't know. It's free, I guess.
Yeah. See, now here's the real challenge. I mean, practicing what you preach after the show. That's the real challenge.
I'll give it a shot. You know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll
I,
try to do better.
I will also give it a shot. Let's high five to this. Wait, you're over
Okay.
here. Eh.
All right, well,
Awesome.
high five. Because I have a comic called Demon, and I've planned to do like a Kickstarter or a Patreon or something like that for it. It's finished. The comic's done. I don't have to do more things. And like, I still just don't put it out because I'm like, I'll have to sell it. And I'm like, what if people don't like it? And everyone has said it seems cool. I'm fine with it, and nobody's going to be mad at me.
Mhm.
But for some reason, I don't want to do it. Like, I definitely find it a sticking point. So I'll try. I'll try harder.
I will also try harder because you're right, it needs to be sustainable if you want to keep doing it.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
All right, let's see. Did I ask you about your dream project? Did I ask you if you have any dream projects?
Dream projects. Ooh, that's a good question because I think we always fantasize about stuff. Um, I would love to make a movie about one of these characters that I've done or one of these stories that I've written. I'd love to see a movie be done and be able to work a little bit on that movie. I don't necessarily have to be the main person involved or something, but if I could produce in some way or be consulting and have some say in the way it goes. Worst case scenario, actually, you know, be be doing the directing and doing that kind of stuff. I think it would be cool. But I don't have enough knowledge, I think, in those arenas to do it. But that would be an awesome dream of mine. I would like to make a film of that. The other thing is actually just the podcast, to have a show that I could talk to essentially anybody with. You know what I mean? No matter what strata of hierarchy of life they find themselves on, I could still do that. Like, I'd be like, hey, whatever, Denzel Washington, you want to be on this show? And he'd be like, yeah, I'd love to be on your show. Like,
Yeah.
that would be cool too. That's a dream project as well on the podcasting side of things. I think, it's not that wild or anything, but that is. So sort of some simple stuff. I'm wondering if there's something else in the martial arts realm. I
Oh.
wish I could do just like a retreat where you spend. That was something since I was a kid. I even talked to a friend about it who loved to do karate,
Yeah.
or and he was into that, and I was like, we were like 15 years old, and I was like, dude, we used to like jog up a mountain and spar each other. That was the thing we did because we were in
Badass.
the West Coast, so we would like jog. Once you get to a plateau, you like spar for a few hours, then jog back down. And like, it was fun. It was
That's
fun.
awesome.
So we're like, what if we went to like Okinawa and like the birthplace of karate, and just like stayed at a hostel and trained every day. You
Yeah.
know, I never did it, and so something like that. Like go to Thailand and just do Muay Thai for 6 months or something, and or something in that realm, or just actually just go to Japan and do sword training
Yeah.
for like a year every day, and just like that's it. Sleep on like the dojo floor or something and do that.
Okay,
That'd be cool.
I have a friend who I was doing Tai Chi with for a while, and
Okay.
my friend, every year or so, he goes out to China to do some kung fu training. And
There you go.
there's a couple of other people in the dojo that like I know as well, but like they go for 3 weeks, and they like every time I see them after they come back, it's like they're a whole new person. Like just like they've just gone through some shit and they've come out the other side a completely better person for it, and it's awesome. I hope someday you get to do that.
I hope so too. It'd be fun. It'd be super fun. What about you though? Is there a project that you're going, this is my project, and that's your Superman project?
My Superman project right now is just streaming. I mean, that's just been my big art project, and that's been everything that I've wanted to do. And right now, I know it's proving to be more work than I expected it to be, but like I'm getting back into video editing, and I love video editing so much. Like there are the
Really?
tedious parts, and it's just even the tedious parts just really latch into my brain really well. If people see me on Twitch and if I'm hanging out in your channel, I can guarantee you I've at least gotten a couple of clips from your channel. But I love like snagging clips from people. I love doing video editing and just something about it. It really works for my brain. And right now, like doing Twitch and doing video editing is like my big project.
Oh,
And
wow.
whatever that evolves into. I want to see what it becomes. And
It's
sometimes
true.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go,
Oh,
go.
no, no, no. There's sometimes I just think that that's part of the magic is that like you don't always have to have the end result in mind, but you can be excited to see what the art project becomes. And that's where I'm at.
It's so true. The process, I think Twitch is one of the best platforms to get into process
Mhm.
because it starts where it starts and it goes wherever it goes. Like it really didn't for say like I told you that story. Like none of the things that I did stayed the same. It was always changing. Even like my hairstyle got differently. I was singing on stream for some reason. Didn't have that in mind at all. All those things, and then okay, how can I make this better? You often find yourself going like, what's the next thing I can add to this thing?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, this space that I've made. I like Twitch because it is that space. You're like saying, hey, come into my room and let's hang out and play games or sing songs or let's hang out in my Twitch is kind of like your room, your
Mhm.
your childhood bedroom or something. And
Yeah.
you might add some new posters to the wall or something like that, or you might have a new video game system in there, or something's happening and it shifts. The vibe is different all the time. Every day is a different day. I find it pretty awesome. I think that's what I love about Twitch specifically.
Mhm. I
So I think I
completely
get you.
agree.
I get you.
Look at us in our cool rooms. We both have very cool rooms.
It's true. I would not have this room the way that it is. And I wanted to say something. This looks probably black, this color, I
It
would think.
does. Looks pretty
It's
dark.
actually dark, dark green.
I never would
Is
have guessed.
a color called black orca, but it's dark green.
Ooh.
It's dark green. We're just being fancy. But I actually went through like Adobe has a site that you can do color matching and all this kind of stuff and look for color schemes. And so I looked through I don't know, 100 of these different color schemes. I saved all the ones that I liked, and then I made folders. I made like a round one folder and round two folder until I got to a stage where there's just one. There can be only one. There was one left.
Yeah.
And then I printed that out. I went to the store and matched it as closely as possible to the paints that they had and came back and did that. And I'm like, looks pretty much black. Like, but in reality, it's a dark foresty kind of green color.
I'm sure in person you can actually see it. But I mean, there's also camera limitations, color spectrum limitations, lighting limitations.
Yeah. Mainly, I just wanted to pop from the background rather than kind of blend in with noise. I wanted it to be like this clean background that's easy on your mind and yet still shining at you, but and then me being upfront here because I don't know. I think what I want to aim for with my podcast and with my streaming is not as much the entertainer as authentic. Can I just authentically express myself and say the things I mean to say? And we know whether people like them, whether they don't like them. Hopefully, people don't hate me too much for things. But that was the direction that I went with Twitch. So yeah, I find this amazing, and yeah, I love that you have the noise the noise pattern on the TV right now. I for some reason I didn't even notice until I looked at your second camera that's down at the bottom. I'm like, oh yeah, she's got the static going. I haven't seen static in years and years, other than when I see your streams. So this is
Well, there's also a VCR hooked up to this thing. So like
I rem-
sometimes in my streams I'm like playing movies in the background too. So like I
I've seen that you play VHS.
yes, I collect VHSs. I find myself going to the thrift store and I'm like I leave with an armful of VHSs like, "Oh, we're going to be watching all of these on stream. All of
This is
these."
wicked. I one of at my parents' place, there was a point where my dad bought all the tapes. Remember when there was a battle between VHS and Beta?
See, I
like
wasn't
Betamax.
around for that, but I do know about the battle, and I
I,
got a story about that.
do you? Because I wasn't around for it either. This is something he did. Then
Oh,
many years later, I go to like his basement, and he's got like 300 beta tapes. And it's basically he's bought all the beta tapes from the video store, which used to be a thing, which is not a thing anymore. Um, because it was they were like, okay, well, nobody rents beta because VHS won that battle.
yeah.
And so he's like, well, what if how much for all your tapes? So I went through those one day. I was watching like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was it down there, and like 10th every movie that you'd find at a video store basically was
That
there.
is
The beta version.
amazing. Okay, I
What's your
got a
story?
story, and I don't mind airing this, but my boss told me this story. So, mind you, take it with a grain of salt because I haven't researched it. But my boss told me the reason that VHS won out over Betamax is because pornography allegedly
100%.
had the rights. Yeah, allegedly had the rights to everything. So, like, you could tell if a family had like a a VCR in their home instead of a Betamax player. Like, you could tell who the
They were
freaks were.
they were watching the porno.
You could tell. You could tell.
No, that's accurate. I think it was the same thing for back when there was what was it called? Like I don't even remember what the other one. There was Blu-ray discs, right? When you were going from DVD to Blu-ray.
Mhm.
And then there was also what was it called? HD video or HD disc or
Oh fuck.
what was the other one? Yeah,
Fuck,
like
that
it
was a
was
short-lived one.
yeah,
Fuck, what was
Blu-ray
it?
one because porno backed the Blu-ray.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You got to get that
So
quality.
you do, but they were both equal quality. It's just that like who could get these producers to do it? I think even for like beta and VHS, I don't know how real the story is, but there's a well, I know that it's not that real, but it's based on a true story called The Naked Director. It's a television show. It's on Netflix.
Mhm.
It's about this dude. His last name's Muranichi, but I forget his first name. He was a director back in the 80s. He got into the porno industry, and he got arrested a lot of times and stuff too for doing the illegal version of the porno
Mhm.
because they have a lot of censorship in
Mhm.
Japan. But there was a giant company that apparently they got paid by the VHS manufacturers to be like, hey, can you put your videos on our platform? And he was like, okay, we'll help you win this war of between beta and VHS for VCRs, and you can give away one of our porno videos on VHS with every player. So it
That
helped in
is
Japan.
free porn, just free porn with every purchase.
That's it. Here, you want one of these? And like, if you buy this one, you get this. Beta, sorry, you're empty-handed, I guess is a it's it's a
That's
it's a bad way to put it, but yeah, that's what it is. Or it's the good way to put it. Yeah, ding dong.
a little delayed on that ding, but there you go.
There it is. So no, you're right. As far as I know, that's how a lot of these things are decided because people are really into their porno, I guess.
I guess. And you know what the funny thing is, when I was talking to my boss about this, I was like, "Wait, really? That's what happened?" And he's like, "And you know the bullshit part is that Betamax typically had the better quality."
Beta was better.
Mhm.
Actually, that's like I'm saying, this is 20 years later. I dig up a beta machine out of the basement and
Holy
play these
shit.
tapes, and they're fine. And it's
Yeah.
like, the VCR, it
Mhm.
kind of crapped out a lot. Like you have to clean it and like refurbish them all the time. Where
Mhm.
like a machine 30 years old for a beta that's been, degrading, it's perfectly fine,
Oh
totally
yeah.
crushing.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, they were the better quality. It was the better thing, but the marketing and the affiliation with the porno was better for VHS, I think.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Wow. I'm glad we settled that.
Yeah, I'm glad that this is definitely going to be aired. I don't yeah. Porn facts.
No, it's fine. I
Porn
don't, I don't
facts.
know how far your podcast goes. So
I will
I'm
talk about
being
pornfacts.info. That's where maybe I should retitle this.
pornfacts.info. The Porn
Yes.
Facts podcast with Mother of Carp. I love it. Okay, cool.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I'll
okay.
come on that podcast too, although I know very little about. Oh, heyo.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Good. Excellent. Okay, you had questions. I know we were
I
talking about
did.
porno and VHS.
Sorry, dying of laughter. Dying of laughter. Let's see. Let's see. I think we could probably start wrapping this up with some other questions. God damn it.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
God
No, we're
damn it.
good.
All right. Breathe. All right. Some basic questions. I've asked you this before, but if you woke up one morning as a sandwich, what kind of sandwich would you be?
Oh man, you did ask me this before. I don't even know what I said before. I'm sure it's some made up nonsense. What if I took this seriously? What would I want to be? I feel like I might have said meatball sub, but I don't know if that's real.
I'm not going to
That's
tell you the answer because I remember.
You do? You
I
seem to
do.
have a pretty strong memory. I'm not remembering anything.
It's
I
it's
feel
the
like
sandwich question. I remember what sandwich everybody was, and no. Finish your answer. I'm not going to spoil it.
okay. I know I probably thought about meatball sub, but I don't know if that's legitimately what I would want. Which one would I be? I think. Is there one that has a lot of different kinds of stuff in it? That would sort of work. Not like BLT because it's a little too basic, but I like that there's lettuce and tomato. What kind of bread would I want to have? That's the thing with that's the big part, like is just the bread part is I think a big deal.
The bread is very important. It is
Yeah.
extremely important. Bread is very important. I love
Well.
bread. I love bread.
Okay. I know brioche is pretty great. But I think okay, you know what I would want? Again, I'm gonna bring up Japan again. I'm sorry, I don't mean to flex
Yes.
on Japan so
Oh,
much.
please flex on Japan.
They have really great bread, believe it or not. Like, Japan and France had the best bread that of places I've been.
Mhm.
Japan and France. So either bread from France or bread from Japan. And if I was in Japan, you can go to any grocery store pretty much, and they've got multiple different thicknesses
Mhm.
of their bread, and it tastes really, really, really good. So starting with, I would want the thick bread from Japan, the one that's like about this thick. I don't know
Yeah.
how big
Like
that
the
is.
roll thick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's roll thick because I like the bread better than everything else, kind of. Like honestly, it's why I can't eat a lot of that stuff because that's all I'll eat. I'll just eat carbs. So I never eat it, but I would have it. I've made French toast with that bread too. Like, ooh, damn, it was really good. Not the point though. Oh my god, you know what? This is what I'm just gonna say. The one I like, I think maybe the most, grilled
Go for
cheese
it.
sandwich. Grilled cheese sandwich with that thick bread, with like I don't know, maybe grass-fed butter or something as the thing, like whatever the cleanest possible ingredients. That's it. Simple. Crazy good cheese. What kind of cheese though? I don't know. Probably 2 or 3 kinds. Let's just put it that way. And then I'll do grilled cheese sandwich all day. You know what? Grilled cheese sandwich.
Hell yeah, that's a good answer, and I like the way that you answered it, especially. By the
Okay, I
way,
took it
your
seriously.
previous answer was meatball sub.
Bam. Okay, I thought so because it was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, I like the meatball sub. It's got a classic flavor, but even I think that's wrong because even if I was gonna do a sub style sandwich, maybe the Philly cheesesteak. I've never had one, but maybe. I don't think I've ever had a real Philly
You've
cheesesteak. So
Never
probably
had
not.
a real Philly cheesesteak. Well, that's a damn shame.
No.
You need to have a real
No.
real
I'm-
Philly cheesesteak. That's
Maybe-
really hard to say.
Well, okay. You did your best.
I tried. I attempted. I tried. All right.
You're doing great, by the way. I'm having so much fun.
Thank you.
But
I
don't
really
worry.
appreciate that. All right. 3 facts. I want 3 facts that you want people to know about you.
Oh no. Okay. 3
You've
facts
said
people
that to
want to know about.
every question. Oh
I,
no.
I just don't believe I'm ever going to be able to answer these questions. That's that. Remember we talked about self-esteem. I'm going to have to work on this. So okay, 3 things I want people to know about me. Okay, that I okay, one, I'm not as crazy as the haircut makes me seem to be. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Because I'm walking I just like the way it looks, but if you walk around any town, there's not that many people with this kind of thing going on,
Mhm.
and it's noticeable. Let's just put it that way. So I'm not as crazy as it seems. Um I think probably mostly personal things. Like I I do actually want the best for everybody if possible. Like I don't want bad things to happen. I want you to win. Like you're doing your podcast right now. I want you to do as best with this podcast or get everything out of it that you can. I like to see people win. So, like for example, I like the superhero Superman. When a lot of people kind of trash on Superman because like, oh, he's kind of boring. There's nothing. There's too many powers. He's a goody goody, and I'm like, hey, look, if you could basically beat everyone, take over the whole world, and instead you're a nice guy, I'm like, that's crazy hard. I could not be nice to everybody. I think if I was Superman, I'd be like, yeah, I have laser vision. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm lighting you up. You know? So so I kind of figure like that's an interesting. I think those kind of things are interesting. So again, I like Superman sweeping in, defeating the problem in a millisecond. I like One Punch Man punching something once and having it be defeated. I love that kind of stuff. So I think, yeah, I want to see you win. And I want to win too, but I want to see you win at the thing you're doing. I want to see you do well. It may not seem that way sometimes because I make a lot of jokes and I can be cynical and all that. But in my heart, that's what I want. I want to see people be like happy and healthy and win. So that's this. Is that the second thing? Do I have to come up
Yes,
with a
that's the
third thing?
second. You need one more.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. That's the first one. Maybe a little crazy.
Only
Two, so that's only half truth. Two was I want to see others win truly. I actually like people, even though it seems like I hate people sometimes. Okay. Three, what's the third thing I want them to know about me?
Yeah, what is the third
Um,
thing?
oh my goodness. That I think I probably something simple like I'm pretty sensitive and more sensitive than you would probably think. Just because I feel like I do get more, as much as I like to be around people and that kind of stuff, it actually makes me tired. So I guess that's what an introvert is. But I never would have considered myself that because I do like to talk to people and I do like to be around people and I feel I need to be around people. Part of the reason I like martial arts classes is because there's a bunch of people, we're all doing the same thing together. It's fun. But I get tired from, being in groups of people and that kind of stuff. And I'm just pretty sensitive. Little small things kind of get to me a bit and irk me and whatnot. So I've that's a thing I'm trying to improve on as well, is to not really be bothered by that which doesn't actually matter. But I'd say I'm a sensitive person. That's the thing to know about. Like I'm sensitive, so a small thing might seem like a big thing to me, and so like that's it. It's probably, I don't know if that's something you need to know, but that's what came to mind.
I love it. I love it. No, that's a really good answer. Last thing. For realsies, last thing. Is there
Okay.
anything that you want to plug, anything you want to advertise, anything you want to tell people?
Okay, those are 3 things again. Oh my goodness.
3 simple
Okay.
things.
They seem simple. Okay, so you know what? I will try not to be sensitive, and I will I'll answer your questions. Okay, so yes, I have a podcast. It's on YouTube. It's at Ragged World. You can find me there. Ragged World again on Twitch. I do a Twitch stream where I chat with streamers like yourself. You've been on it, Neon Ballroom. That was super fun, by the way. We should do it again.
Yeah.
I wanted you back for like a panel stream where we all talk together, but like you were busy.
Yeah, I was.
Good things to do. She's like, "Geez, I'm busy, man. Don't ask me at the last second."
The Raunchy Comedy Podcast. I remember that one. I remember that
That's
one.
it. but the podcast, yeah. Oh, that's true. The savage stream, because like
Yeah.
you can be very savage when you want to be.
When I
That's
feel
for sure.
like it, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. You were cutting, so I was like, this is good, but it worked out. We
Yeah.
had somebody else come as a control factor.
That was Books.
where
Books came in
it
as
was
a
Books, Brews, and
yeah.
Booze. She came in and she was just as crazy as everybody. So like it was awesome. But yeah, no, the podcast, like I said, I changed the background. I'm going forward. I want with that was always been, like I said, about beauty, battle, and business. It's about people who are making their own way in the world, whether they're artists or whether they're business people or whether they're even in the military or any kind of interesting job for the most part, but that you've hacked your own way through the bushes of life to get to this point. I want to talk to you. So that's what that's going to be about. And it should be coming out at the end of February if all goes well. So I've started and we're, we're recording already. So and you're actually the first person to see this. You're going to be the first person to express all this. And I'm actually doing the same thing as you are doing. I've done this since TwitchCon, where I interviewed at TwitchCon Rusty Panda, and I interviewed the Empress Jody, and they came on and watched their interviews on Twitch with me. And I was thinking of doing something like that, or just at least reacting to it alone. But if I can steal some of your thunder on that, it would be super cool to do something similar, like go on, do a stream and say, hey, we had this big conversation and this is what we thought about this conversation.
Yeah, by all means.
It feels like the next evolution of the Twitch stream. So that's my goal. And then just going on there to chat with people and see what's going on too. So there's that. Okay, wait, that's the plugging of things. And I'm on Instagram, Ragged World everywhere. Basically, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on every platform as Ragged World. So it is what it is. But okay, what was the rest? Is something I want to tell people?
Yeah, anything you want to tell people, anything you want to plug, anything you want people to know about at all. This is the final part, so just get your words out while you can.
She's like, get it done. You've been talking too much. Get out of here, dude. She's like, okay, no. I do. There's something that's been on my mind, and it relates to the podcast. It's part of what I wasn't sure, because I always feel like, okay, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm sensitive. I don't want other people to feel any kind of way. So I always try to just be somewhere down the middle of things a lot of times. But I'm thinking that one of the things that makes it fun to be on podcasts or makes Twitch fun or makes anything good is if you're being authentically yourself. It's hard. It can be terrifying. People are probably going to make fun of you and some people are going to love you though. And you're going to have to take both. So I don't know. I think that's basically the story. Like, I would love, the thing that's been on my mind a lot is I would love to see people not arguing so much, even if you have a completely different point of view from the other person. Even if you hate that point of view that they have, I would love to see like us not fight about it and instead be able to have some kind of conversation, maybe reach a middle ground or not, and be cool with not, but not having to like hate one another or attack one another for those things, like for differences of opinion, basically. That would be a lot. And also just don't believe every single thing you hear right away. That would be another thing I want to say. I don't know why I want to say all these things, but that's what's been on my mind a lot lately, because I just think there's been a lot of fighting and stuff in media that I've seen, and I was like, is this necessary that we do all this? We hate each other for no reason.
I agree. I mean, it feels important to get it out there,
So I said that. And I want to say thank you to you, because for having me on here. No, really, it means a lot to me, because I mean, you don't have to have me on here.
But like, you do art, and also when you were saying that you didn't know if the art of the conversation was considered an art form for you, like that's the whole reason I wanted you on the show, because you do have that art form, and I saw it right away. So thank you for being on here. Thank you so much.
Well, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Is that everything you need? Anything else you want from me? I'm here right now.
That's everything. I'm gonna hit the stop recording button right now. Oh God, okay, now y'all can hear me. Now we're back to the live universe. Hi! That's certainly the chatting definitely did not go as I expected. Hi! Oh my God, Alchemmutation, Taylor complains. Hi. Hi. Yeah, no, you really can't. You really can't. We would have talked all fucking night if that. Yeah, I wasn't kidding. I really fucking wasn't kidding. I really. Jonestown Punchline. Hi. Welcome in. We're at the end of the stream, the complete end of the stream, and we're going to raid out now. But yeah, that was the show. And guess what? In about what time is it? It's 12 o'clock. In about 10 hours, I'm going to be on. I'm going to be talking to Rick on his podcast because he's re-recording. He's doing the podcast again, and I'm going to be on it. So anyway, I guess I have to be up in some amount of hours to do that. That's going to be fun. So Saturday is gaming stream. Saturday is gaming time. We're going to be doing Fallout. I love playing Fallout New Vegas. We're going to be getting right back to Fallout. Then Tuesday is a Satan stream. And then we're back to art and things and stuff. And I don't see any of the LLS. I am so excited. It's the second time that I've talked to Rick. I was on Neon Ballroom once. And I haven't been on his podcast, but oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be so fucking great. I'm stoked. He did his podcast last week. Hell yeah! 45 minutes talking after the fact. Oh my God. Yeah, no. I could talk to him all fucking day. Like, Rick is great conversation. Fucking great guy, great conversation. I cannot wait for him to make his return back to the internets. All right. We're gonna raid the channel. Rating. I didn't see any of the LLS streamers on, so we're gonna raid white, gray, black, YYC because I don't get to see Great White Gray enough. So we're gonna see the Great White Gray who was on my stream a couple some odd weeks ago, last month. All right, bye everyone. Have a good night. Sleep well. I'll see you around on the interwebs. We're gathering the raiders. Gathering the raiders. Okay. Sleep well. I'll see y'all around on the internets. Things and stuff and things. Bye. I know I'm still alive and I do not care because I am going over to White Gray's channel. I'm gonna make sure that the raid happened before I end the stream, before I end the stream, before I end the stream, before I end the stream. Did the raid go through? Did the raid go through? I'm still alive. I am still alive. The Great White Gray. Okay, now I can have my stream. Stop streaming.